Hello and welcome to Mana Wars. Today we have got brand new Guilds of Ravnica sealed deck action for you. We're here at Pat's Games in Austin, Texas. I'm Kevin. This is Aria. Aria, what is on the show today?
Well, I'm pretty excited because we have Bing playing a Boros sealed deck against Rocky playing Selesnya.
Boros versus Selesnya. Who's going to win? Watch the episode and find out.
To keep up to date with everything at Knights at the Game Table, all you have to do is click subscribe and then hit that tiny little notification button next to it, so every time we upload a new video, YouTube will be sure to let you know.
And while you're watching, don't forget we're still giving away a booster box every month here on Knights at the Game Table. To be entered into the draw, just share this video and then comment down below, and you could be drawn to pick a booster box of your choice, have sent to you. Our most recent winner was Tony Mola, who picks a box of M19. And while you're doing that, we're going to go line up the 3 best cards in Magic.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Rock, paper, scissors. And it's the Rock Lobster defeats the Scissor Lizards.
Yeah, Scissors Lizard just gets a rough break in these. He was on a small winning streak. But
He was. He had, what, 2 in a row?
He did have two in a row.
Couldn't keep it up.
Not 3. So I'm pretty excited about this because today we got some limited for the first time here on Mana Wars.
Fantastic.
On the left, we have Rocky here playing a Selesnya deck, and then on the right, Bing is playing a Boros deck, and he's actually splashing blue for a Planeswalker, which is going to be Ralzeric, but we'll talk about him a little more if he shows up to the party.
Okay, fantastic. So from what you've seen with this format so far, which is not that much, obviously, because it's just come out, is this a fairly aggressive tempo-based format, or is card advantage a bit more important? What do you reckon?
I think for Ravnica, just because the mana fixing is so good, and a lot of the rares and uncommons even are very powerful, I think it tends to be a little bit of a slower format. Just because you're very incentivized to splash a 3rd color or to play some of your more expensive cards because the power level on them is just very, very high. Okay,
so we've got a Guild Mage in play over there?
Yeah, it's Conclave Guild Mage. The one thing with...
It's doing something. It's being land?
Yes, it is. So,
oh my god, it's convoking!
Yes.
All right, this is the Selesnya thing, right?
Correct. So Selesnya's mechanic in the set is Convoke, where you're allowed to tap your creatures to pay for your spells. And a creature can tap for any color of mana that creature itself has.
Nice.
So in this case, Conclave Guild Mage taps to place a slightly larger creature in play.
And it's facing down a Goblin Crater Maker on the other side.
Yes, Goblin Crater Maker, kind of an interesting one. It's basically like a 2-mana 2/2 that you can also sacrifice
to shock something. Shock a creature.
I believe it's 2 damage. You can deal 2 damage if you sacrifice it and pay a mana. Okay, Bing has one of my favorite cards, Sky Knight Legionnaire.
Sky Knight Legionnaire. Is that a reprint?
It is, yeah. It's from the original Ravnica, and they've printed it quite a few more times. It's just a great card. It's 3 mana 2/2 Flying Haste. Nice. So real simple, clean, nice design. Just a nice card for Boros aggro.
So what does that Guild Mage do, the one that's on the...
So Conclave Guild Mage, for 1 green mana, you can tap it and give all creatures you control trample. And then for 6 mana, you can tap it and make a 2/2 token. In Return to Ravnica, the previous Ravnica set, the Guild Mage made a 3/3. But now they've downgraded it to a 2/2. Oh, okay.
What's this?
That would be a removal spell that's going to get rid of Sky Knight Legionnaire. It's 5 damage to an attacking or blocking creature, so that's going to take care of Sky Knight Legionnaire and get that out of here. Although Bing is going to follow up with a decent follow-up here. He's going to make 2 lifelink soldiers. One thing that is kind of a little bit unique in this set is that soldier tokens have lifelink, when in the past I don't think they have.
No, I think that's new to my knowledge.
Yeah, so like Boros cards that make soldiers in this particular set, they have lifelink, which is very relevant when you're thinking about the Boros mechanic, which is Mentor. Getting a 1/1 lifelink token is a lot more relevant in this set than it might be in others, because that gives you
powered up.
Exactly, it gives you an excellent target for your Mentor counters to go onto a lifelink creature and maybe even get to like a 3/3.
Nice. Boros have always been good at the race as well, haven't they? Getting a life damage advantage.
Yes, they have. Oh, look at this, Trostani Discordant.
What is that?
Yes. So yeah, Bing has to read it too. So it has like a crusade effect. Other creatures you control have +1/+1.
Oh my goodness.
Which is already very, very good. And then, when it comes into play, you make a 1/1 lifelink soldier token for each other creature you control. So basically, that was just like a very small Grave Titan. Where we now have a 3/4 and 2 2/2s just added to the board in one turn.
Pretty huge.
Yeah, I think in the set they did a good job of making sort of like the flagship, most important people in the story, like in this case Trostani, those big, you know, the pictures of the people you see on the pack, like the most important characters in the story.
They really have an effect when they hit the table.
Yeah, they did a good job of pushing those to make those interesting when they actually see play, which I think is cool. It kind of helps tell the story through the cards.
So this Boros deck, going to be a little bit concerned at this point. Surely that Crusade effect's going to be something to be worried about.
Yeah, although it looks like
combo.
Yeah, it looks like
combo.
Bing is convoking for a gigantic flyer.
Flight of Equinauts,
Yes.
by the looks of things.
Yes, Flight of Equinauts, which is a human knight, even though it's on a horse, which I guess is the Equinaut part. The Flight of Equinauts is a 4/5 flyer, which is kind of like exactly what Bing needed here, just because he's facing down so many ground creatures. Like the chances of him getting through these ground guys is very unlikely.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, with the Equinaut, 4-power flying, I mean that's just a
That's significant.
5-turn clock on its own.
He's going to need some kind of blocker as well, because those 2/2 life linkers, he can't just race that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this turn is a very interesting turn for Rocky, because he could attack with everything, and that might be fine. He would lose something along the way. On the other hand, if he doesn't want to attack with everything, he has to think about what he can and does want to attack with. So it looks like Rocky's choosing to leave the Guildmage at home, which I think makes a lot of sense, given that the Guildmage can start already using its token-making ability and make some 2/2s. Interesting. So Rocky's going to attack with just a Knight and his Convoke creature.
Blocking the token.
Yeah, so it looks like token's getting blocked. It's getting in for 3. There is some lifelink happening, so that will put Rocky to 20 and Link to 14.
Finishing him off.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, so Lava Coil will deal 4 damage. So Bing, blocked the 2/2 with his 4/5, thinking, you know what, if you have a trick, you have something, it's all right. Turns out to be Lava Coil, which is a little bit awkward because it does remove that big flyer.
Oh, okay. Still really needs to do something about that legend over there.
Oh no! Did you see what the follow-up that Rocky had was? It's a Siege Wurm, which
he's
is a
convoked out to
5/5.
5/5.
Yeah.
That's another reprint from the first set, right?
Yes, it is.
Well,
Siege Wurm is a reprint, still good.
So
okay.
The good news is we've removed the Crusade effect. The bad news is there is still a Siege Wurm.
Yeah. So
right there being enormous.
Yeah. So the good news for Bing is that he was able to get rid of Trostani, which is a good thing.
Oh, and Goblin.
Okay, cool.
Goblin Crater Maker has made a crater out of that Guild Mage.
Yeah, it's a little sad that Rocky did not even get up to make even 1 token with the Guild Mage, but that's how it goes sometimes.
So it really feels like that making that legend followed by convoking has set up the board for the Selesnya deck so well.
Another Siege Wurm.
Holy macaroni!
This is problematic for a Boros deck to have 2 5/5 tramples on the other side. Like
he's surely going to need some kind of wrath effect at this point. He needs to wipe the board somehow.
Yeah, that's going to be very awkward. I mean, all Bing's really able to follow up with here are a couple of small Boros creatures, which on their own would be fine, but when you're facing down like
5/5,
2 5/5 tramples, these 2/1s and 3/3s, and they're just not going to get it done.
Brutality.
I mean, I will say this for Bing, he is at 7, which doesn't sound great, but given that he has 2 lifelink blockers, he actually can survive this turn, which is good.
And those Siege Wurms having trample is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I think he's gonna.
They have got trample, right?
They do have trample.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have to line up some form of a block that at least threatens to trade with one of the worms. And then after that, I'm not exactly sure where he goes from there.
In it all comes.
It looks like
where it goes from there is he's gonna draw a board wipe off the top of his deck, or we're gonna be moving on to game 2, I fear.
I guess Bing's trying to think about whether it makes more sense to try to trade with like a lifelink token, or whether to like chump something.
He just wants to soak up as much damage as he can.
Yeah,
surely.
I think where we're gonna end up here is Bing is gonna take about 7, but then will gain some back from the lifelink creatures, which will keep him at a low life total, but still alive.
So life linking keeps you alive even if the damage would have killed you, right? So there was a point the damage would have killed you before life link could happen.
Yes. There actually is kind of like a little bit of a rule change, where before you had kind of like the lifelink ability would go on the stack as a trigger, but the way it works now, it's just kind of a condition of the way the creature deals damage. So lifelink damage happens at the exact same time as all the other damage, and so it keeps you at a higher life total. That's correct.
Nice.
Okay, interesting. So Bing is double blocking a lifelink token and double blocking a siege worm. So he will take. Okay, so I think that after all of the, mathematics get worked out here, we're going to have Bing at 1.
Ooh.
And we're going to have Rocky at 21. And the siege worms, by the way, they're still here.
Oh my goodness. Well, he always needs
okay, one's gone. Okay, that's good.
One's gone, okay.
But even even a 1/5/5 siege worm trample
needs to rip something big
here,
and he's pulled the land. That's the end.
That's gonna do it.
Woo. Oh, that legend, that's a bomb. What's her name again?
Trostani, yeah.
Trostani
Discordant.
Trostani Discordant.
That was definitely an interesting game because the whole game basically came down to actually a reprinted card, which was Siege Worm.
Here we are, 15 years on, same old, same old.
Well, it turns out Convoke is a method of basically like lowering the cost of cards. And when you can get some very, very large creatures in play and not actually pay full price for them, this is going to be tough.
Another thing I saw there, the token-making ability of that legend card basically gave three drops for 1 at 5 mana. Are there other token makers that you know about, things that come in and make a token that would
Yeah,
work
there's a
with Convoke?
few. There's a spell, there's a sorcery with Convoke that either is a disenchant, like destroy an artifact or enchantment, or that makes a creature. There's a guild mage that we saw that makes a token. There's a few others. There's like a 1/1 that makes a 1/1 when it dies. So there are a few token makers. I don't think it's as heavy of a token theme as it's been in other Ravnica sets.
Okay, they're shuffling each other's decks. Ready for game 2.
Yeah, so I think Bing is going to be on the play here after he got overrun by siege worms. And
Besieged.
He got besieged by siege worms, absolutely. So I think from his perspective, he's really looking to have kind of an aggressive draw. He is playing pretty much mostly a Boros deck, although I do see an island in his hand, which is slightly awkward given that I know he has multiple cards that cost like Boros mana, a red and a white.
He's playing it.
Yeah, but the thing is, Bing is able to splash blue into his deck for
look at that. Mounting off the top like a professional.
Perfect.
Good lord. Okay,
Yeah.
What's his first drop there? What have we got?
That is just going to be a fresh-faced recruit. Whenever it's your turn, has first strike.
And
interesting.
based up by a rock charge, but being held off by...
Yes, so that's Amara. Amara is also one of like the main storyline people.
Have we got both the legends over here?
Yes, we do. He does have all of them.
Good lord.
So Amara is actually really good. Whenever it becomes tapped, it makes a 1/1 token. And with, your guild mechanic being Convoke, it's pretty easy to tap it. It also will work if you attack or anything like that. But that's the reason that Bing chose not to attack there.
I can't help but feel that Bing has turned up with, the ground troops and the recruits, and he's run into, the superpowered generals on the other side of the army with all their snazzy magic weapons.
No, that's true. I mean, Bing's deck is still quite good. I mean, there's a Boros Challenger, which I think is one of the better Boros cards.
Nice. He's got in both of his creatures for an attack there.
Yeah, nice little attack. And now,
17?
Amara's, honestly, the card's very, very powerful. I mean, you're able to Convoke and make tokens, attack and make tokens. But on this particular board, I mean, it's basically just a 2-mana 2/2.
Yeah, he really wants to be convoking something now, surely.
We have seen from Rocky that he has some really powerful Convoke cards that go over the top. The question is, though, is he going to get stuck with some of those, Siege Worm type cards in hand when he doesn't have, a curve creature on turn 3 or 4?
I mean, yeah, he appears to have a bunch of cards in hand, but nothing to do right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that's a little tough sometimes when you're building these decks with Convoke, because you want to play all the good Convoke cards, which are largely the expensive ones, but you need to balance it with having enough cheap, inexpensive 1 to 3 mana creatures to tap to actually cast those cards.
Oh, triggers taking place, mentoring.
Yeah, this is a problem. So this is problematic. Rock Charger is granting flying. Boros Challenger is granting mentoring people and giving them counters. So
Down
this is
to
a lot of damage
over there. And another creature. That's the Crater Maker again.
Goblin Crater Maker is back again, which is actually kind of a little problematic. I mean, the only creature that Rocky's showing here is a 2/2. Oh, Trostani, wow.
Oh, there she is.
That was the best possible draw, or best possible play I think he had. Because that at least is going to, create a few more.
We're going to kill the other creature in response.
In response to Trostani, you're going to see Amara get shot down by Goblin Crater Maker. But now, even though Trostani is still here and she's pumping up those soldiers, which is a pretty good thing for Rocky, I still feel like Bing probably has to have, I would hope, in his Boros deck, either like a removal or a combat trick, something in this situation to maybe be able to push through some of these ground blockers. There are some attacks that Bing can think about here that would involve attacking with everything. At the same time, there's also the possibility of like just pumping up Boros Challenger and then mentoring the flyer. Which Bing can't do because he only has 3 mana. That's unfortunate. So if he had an untapped land, he could have done it.
He's got that Guild Gate in his hand, just not quite fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that this is sometimes the downside of Guild Gates, but I still think that having Guild Gates as commons in this set is just a fantastic thing for Limited. It makes a lot of your gameplay a lot better because you're able to cast your spells more consistently. Unfortunately, here we see like the downside, which is you have a 4-mana ability and you have a 4th land coming to play tapped.
Alrighty, what's our follow-up for this?
Well, the good news is Rocky can basically convoke anything in the set now.
I mean, those Siege Worms could come out to play again or anything.
Yeah, he's got a nice board if you consider that each of his 3 creatures basically tap for a mana in his deck.
He's also got to think about the fact he's on 7. So, I mean, if he convokes both his life linkers, they can't gain him any life this turn. He's potentially facing a direct damage spell and a lethal attack.
That is correct.
We've got something big. Something big. It's
another Siege Worm. The problem is that Siege Worm on the ground, it may not do quite enough when we're talking about not only having the Charger, but also having the Charger give flying to somebody else.
Or Bing's counting.
Yes,
it's always alarming when your opponent's counting.
Yes, if we've learned one thing in Mana Wars, it's that counting is not good for you. Okay, so Bing is using a pump spell on Boros Challenger that allows it to...
Take Heart?
Yes. He's using Take Heart on Boros Challenger that gives it more power than the Charger, which lets him use Mentor.
And that's an attack for 7?
Yes, it is.
There we go. Good game, on to the 3rd. That's a game apiece. Turns out that the power of that enormous... What's the name again? The enormous Selesnya legend?
Trostani?
Trostani. The power of Trostani was not quite enough to carry at that time.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening was sort of like the like peanut butter and jelly problem, where like you had...
I'm English, you're going to have to explain this one to me.
It's like you have too much of one and out of the other. So you make your sandwich and you either have... You want about 50-50 mix of peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
If you have too much of one or the other, it really doesn't taste the same. And that's kind of what happened to Rocky here. In these Convoke decks, you really need to get those 1 and 2 and 3 mana creatures. You really need to have that curve of those inexpensive creatures to tap for your large Convoke cards. Unfortunately, what happened to Rocky there was he had a hand full of expensive Convoke cards, and he just did not have the board presence that allowed him to play those cards in a timely manner.
Who's your favorite for Game 3, REA?
Well, the Boros deck does go on the draw here, which I think is a little bit weaker for it. I think both Convoke is a little better on the play, and also Boros is a little worse on the draw. So you combine that, that's a small disadvantage. At the same time, though, I think Bing's deck is very good. It's a pretty powerful deck, and he is splashing blue for a Planeswalker in Ral Zarek. So even with a little bit of a slight disadvantage, I feel like that deck's still quite powerful. The big question is going to be, will Rocky be able to get his large green creatures out quickly before Bing can really set up or get underneath them?
Do you think that if Rocky's draw is good enough, Bing is going to struggle no matter what?
I've seen Bing's deck a little bit, and I think he has enough. He has some cheap, combat tricks and cheap removal spells, as well as a good curve of aggressive creatures. So I think that he's actually kind of well set up. in the early turns to not fall too far behind.
Well, we shall see. Straight out on turn 1 with, what's this, some kind of hawk?
Yeah, it's a 1/1 lifelink flyer,
Okay,
which in a lot of formats I think would be a terrible card.
But here, even 1 mentor token on
Yes.
it, a 2/2 flying lifelinker is
Yes,
very
correct.
significant in a race.
Yes, so this particular card is very format specific, where in this format it is very, very good with both Mentor and Convoke. So it's a card that in a lot of formats I think would be probably close to unplayable, but in this particular format, actually a 1/1 for 1 mana is pretty good.
Not so bad at all.
This time Bing has the Guildgate turn at a little bit of a different time, when he actually didn't have anything else, so that's good. So Rocky has Bounty Agent, which is a rare that you can tap and destroy something that's legendary, which doesn't come up in Limited all that often, but hey, once in a while you never know.
Are Planeswalkers legendary?
They are.
That could be,
Yeah.
that could be a thing later on.
Oh, but this is good though. So Rocky's got a reach creature now, which is going to hold that Hawk at bay.
Ooh.
So it looks like Bing's got kind of a choice here. He's got Rock Charger, but that's looking a little less exciting now that
In
there's
the
a
face
reach
of the
creature.
reach creature.
I think he may still go for it. I mean, his other option is Blade Instructor, which is also not great. That's a 3/1 mentor. And Blade Instructor is also not very good against like a 1/4 either.
Yeah, that one, it's just the wrong size, that one.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward. So I think, so Bing's going to go with the Charger that will, you know, not necessarily do anything on this board, but it will open up some opportunities if he's going to deploy some larger creatures later.
So can you give anything flying with that when it attacks?
Yes, you can give any attacking creature flying.
No matter how big.
Yeah, you can. So it looks like Rocky's trying to think about what the best option is here. He did have another one of these Guildgate turns where you spend your turn, unfortunately, playing a tap land. That being said, it does still look like he has some different options. So
Yeah, some thinking going on here.
I'm thinking, okay, I guess he felt like the best thing was just to say go. Which I think if you're in Bing's seat is probably a good thing, given that your attacks are kind of blunted here. You don't really have a great way to get through. So given that the game's going to bog down a little bit, to me, I think Bing's probably has to start thinking about being able to get Rel Zarek down, his splash card. And if he can get Rel in play, I think that will go a long way to helping him win this kind of stalemate game.
Unfortunately, he's going to have to deal with that bounty agent as well, isn't he?
Yes, he will.
Because Ral Zarek has a bounty on his head.
Yes, okay.
So we've just read the card,
Yes.
and it can kill a legendary permanent that is not a planeswalker.
Hey,
So
it's pre-release time, all right? We gotta learn these lessons. So yeah, so Bounty Agent, it can destroy a legendary permanent, but the word Planeswalker is ominously missing from its text box.
as I say, destroy a legendary permanent that is an artifact creature or,
Or enchantment.
enchantment.
Yeah.
Can't kill legendary lands either then.
I guess not. No.
Have there
but-
been any of those in a while?
Yeah, there are, because you know what? You remember all of our flip lands from the Ixalan?
Oh,
the
yeah,
Ixalan, those
search
are all
for
legendary lands.
Escanta.
Yeah. When those transform, they all become legendary lands. So, I guess Wizards was a step ahead on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like we're still sort of in stalemate mode here.
Some kind of Golgari creature there. What's that?
Coral Harpooner, which is a 3/2 reach. So 3/2 reach is pretty good. I mean, that's gonna be fairly difficult for Bing to get through with his, you know, various small flyers. he
Yeah,
has in his
this is
deck.
what he needed last game, definitely.
Yeah, these reach creatures are hugely problematic.
The anti-air defense.
Okay,
Yep.
so there we go. Rail, is it Paragon?
Is it? It is it, right?
Rail, is it Viceroy? Thank you.
Is it Viceroy?
Rail, is it Viceroy? So, Rail is a pretty cool planeswalker. Basically, you know, essentially, the thing you're going to do the most is a plus ability, which is going to be look at your top cards. You can place one, top 2 cards.
Yeah.
You put one in your hand and one in your graveyard.
Yeah.
And then its minus ability is to deal damage equal to the number of instant and sorceries in your graveyard.
Ooh.
Which, in an Izzet deck, is very, very strong.
In a
Splashed into a Boros
Boros
deck,
deck, not so
maybe
much.
less good.
What's the ultimate like?
Its ultimate is that anytime you play an instant or sorcery, you get an emblem. That says anytime you play an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 4 damage to any target, and you draw 2 cards. All right, so let's see what Rocky's got going on here.
He's got. It's big.
It is Affectionate Indrik, which looks like a dinosaur but is not one.
Oh my, it's murdered somebody.
Yeah,
What's it done? That's not affectionate at all.
No,
That's
it's
abuse.
not. What Affectionate Indrik, what it does is it comes in and it can actually fight something. So it's going to come down, it's going to fight one of Bing's creatures, and that's going to make his attack, attacking Raoul, it makes his attack pretty good.
That is pretty good, yeah.
So it looks like...
to block.
Yeah, it looks like the best option for Bing here is going to be... I guess he just wants to get rid of the agent. Okay, so that works. Raoul does get down to 2, but that means that Bing will get at least 1 more activation out of Raoul, which I think is very, very helpful.
That's perfectly acceptable to my mind.
Yeah, and if he can manage to kind of mount a little bit more of a defense here, he might even be able to protect Raoul for the long term. It does kind of depend on what creatures he has access to or what abilities
he's
he can
gonna
do. So
he's gonna need a couple of plays because he's facing down.
well,
all those creatures are more than 3 power.
there's a 4/4, a 1/4, and a 3/2. I believe is what we're looking at.
Oh, so the 1/4 not so much. So he could conceivably deal with the other 2, only take 1 on Raoul next turn and keep Raoul going.
Yeah, I mean, Bing is looking at some interesting options here. I believe on Raoul he's looking at a creature versus a spell, and just trying to figure out how those next few turns are going to play out.
Choice of Shore Strike and Garrison Sergeant by the looks of things.
Yeah, so Sure Strike's reprint, it's been in a few sets recently. Just +3/+0 in first strike, really solid combat trick. But maybe not what the doctor ordered right now. Okay, interesting. So that is what Bing is going to go with. And then he's going to play
Foreign Companion.
Foreign Companion, which is going to make 2 1/1 lifelink creatures, which is actually very good here, I think.
That's yeah, it's a solid defense with a 3/2 on the other side.
Those 1/1s are going to do a great job of keeping Raoul alive for a few more turns, and really one of the biggest things, and I think Bing went over this a little bit when he was building his deck, and one thing he was talking about was that if you can play a Planeswalker in Limited, you probably should.
Very few exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the power level of a Planeswalker is so much higher than the commons and uncommons in most decks that it's just going to take over the game if it has an opportunity to. That being said, yes, Bing is like looking at cards and kind of just getting a little bit ahead that way, but on board he is slightly behind.
Yeah, he needs to watch out here. If he only chumps and then ends up facing down even more creatures in this next turn, he's going to have a bad day.
So it looks like we're gonna get in some blocks. Affectionate Indrik's gonna get blocked by a soldier, and then we're gonna double block our little Golgari insect over there. Ooh, cool.
What's this?
Okay, that is Pax Favor, which is basically a +3/+3.
And there's that Shore Strike.
And there is the Sure Strike that Bing got off of Raoul that's going to take care of the Indrik.
So we're going to lose the Planeswalker due to the boosted combat damage.
So Raoul is going to die because of the pack +3/+3. The Indrik is also going to go down because of Sure Strike. So a couple combat tricks come in. The board's a lot cleaner.
I have to say, the amount of effort that he's had to put into taking down the Planeswalker has given Bing space to, if he plays out a creature or 2 here, his board position will be stronger.
Yeah, it's also pretty good that Bing was able to kind of come back from being behind on board without having to use a spot removal spell. Because it means that any removal that he has, he actually didn't have to use at all to get him out of that situation.
And we'll have it fall later.
Yep. Okay, Rubble-Belled Boar. That can give another another creature +2/+0 when it comes in. So that's going to allow Bing to attack for 4 lifelink damage, putting him at 29 and Rocky all the way down to 15.
That's a significant life advantage, but Rocky's still very much in this, especially if he starts dropping some larger monsters.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for Rocky, I think, is going to be to get some of those like Siege Worm type creatures, those big creatures in play.
Yeah.
The concern I have for him is that, Bing has yet to actually play a removal this game, and that's a little scary.
He also used a lot of resource taking out that Planeswalker and MacLeod.
It's one of the biggest difficult things in Limited, which is do I attack my opponent or attack their Planeswalker? And what ends up happening most of the time is that you have to attack the Planeswalker because it just threatens to run away with the game. But at the same time, it effectively gives your opponent whatever the Planeswalker's ability is, plus the card Fog for free. So it can really put you in a tough spot when you have to play against planeswalkers.
Yeah, his hand's looking, Bing's hand's looking a lot fuller right here.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that just, you know, a small, you know, creature was all that Rocky was able to add to the board there.
So those Equinauts again?
Yes, that's Flight of
Flights
Equinauts. Flight of Equinauts, that's which I believe just translates to flying horses.
Flying horse riders. Flying horse riders.
Yes, I know, because the creature type is not the horse. The creature is the human sitting on the horse.
Destroy target horse would not cut it here. You need to kill a human.
Yes, you would. So that's a pretty good one. I mean, a 4/5, you know, flyer is pretty large. The question is there a good response here from Rocky? Okay, he just says go, so he didn't have anything immediately, although when your opponent passes the turn with that much mana, though...
You've got to feel like something.
You feel like there's probably something going on, right? The chances that they have absolutely nothing are, like, very low.
That is true. We've drawn another very relevant card here,
yeah,
though.
It looks like Bing found a good one off the top of his deck. Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice.
She is very scary.
Yeah, it's one of the better mythics in the
Only
set.
4 mana.
Yeah. She costs 4. I mean, she's Boros, though. Like, Boros is supposed to be inexpensive spells, right? Yeah, there's Aurelia. Okay, so that's a nightmare for the other side.
Oh, my goodness.
So Bing's going to try to go to combat and get his first trigger for Aurelia, +2/+0. Oh, wow. He's going to give it to his boar. And then he's going to get in there with the boar and the Equinauts.
And that card has a lot of text, and it's all good.
Yes. Aurelia basically is a flyer that has Mentor that also gives +2/+0 to one of your creatures.
Or herself.
That also can give it Vigilance and or First Strike, depending on what color it is. It basically just does it all. It is a 1-card Wrecking Crew in Limited.
So that boar has got +2 power and First Strike now, thanks to Aurelia?
That's correct.
It's looking tough to block.
So that boar is very large. The other one flies. I think Rocky may have an ability here to use some form of a trick, but like the question is, like, is it worth it? I mean, if you can get rid of the Equinauts here, like, that's fine, but I mean, isn't Aurelia the problem?
Yeah, it's all very well killing the Equinauts, but Aurelia is only going to attack you for 4 again next turn in the air.
Well, Aurelia kind of sort of attacks for 5 because it's a 2-power card. It gives +2, and then it also mentors.
Oh, so yeah.
Aurelia effectively is like 5 damage, assuming you have another mentor thing.
Anything to put on. Like those soldiers looking fairly
in
need of training.
Those soldiers are looking like really, really good.
Eager
mentor.
recruit. They want to be under Aurelia, working for her.
Well, I think she is one of the heads of the Boros, guild. So I think they are. I think that's what they're doing. Okay, here we go. So it looks like we do again have like 5 damage to an attacker. That's going to take care of that. We're going to make some other trades.
Yeah, I'm not trampling over it, I'm going to go from the trade. Yeah.
Okay. And so when all the dust settles, Bing's got Aurelia, 2 tokens, and Rocky has just a 2/2.
So this is not the end of the world for Rocky. He does need to answer Aurelia. He needs something really big, or he needs a removal spell, I feel.
Yeah, you need to remove Aurelia. I mean, the bottom line is that card it'll completely take over the game. And this is one of the things that's really good about Bing's deck. I mean, we saw this game, some of his cards aren't the strongest. The one thing that's interesting in Sealed, that's just going to be a generous stray.
I feel like the 3-mana cantrip was not what he needs to do with his turn.
I mean, Generous Stray is probably the most adorable card in the set, but it's probably not the card you want against Aurelia.
No.
But it is a very, very... For those of us who are cat owners, I do have a special place in my heart for Generous Stray.
We have cats in the Knights at the Game Table office. And,
yes. Generous Stray is a wonderful, a very cute card that I'm certainly planning on getting a foil of to put on my refrigerator, for sure.
Aww.
But speaking of foils, so the foil... Aurelia on the other side of the table, though.
Oh gosh, she foil as well?
Yeah, not too unhappy.
There's something you wouldn't mind seeing in your sealed deck.
No, well, I mean,
nice foil mythic on day 1.
Well, that's one of the cool things about this particular format when it comes to sealed deck building, because you can choose which guild pack you want, and those guild packs are guaranteed to have a rare that's going to be foil from that guild.
Oh, well, this is news to me, so tell me a bit about
it's pretty cool. So when you go to the pre-release, a lot of stores like us at Pat's Games, we take this information when you pre-register as well, but you are able to decide which guild pack you want, and then when you come to the pre-release, you'll receive that guild pack. That will have a 5 normal packs.
Are we spending removal spells on strays?
Yes, we are setting removal spells on strays so we can get in for a lot of damage.
And mentor up those.
Yes. So, but as far as the pre-release goes, you are able to choose your guild. You get some seeded cards that are set up to help you build that guild, and you do get a promo foil rare of that guild as well.
Nice.
But you know what Rocky doesn't have? He does not have a cat anymore.
He does not have a cat anymore.
Generous Stray is out of here. You don't often...
Generous Stray got doused in lava. That is a horrible thing to do to a cat.
In general, you're not going to see Generous Stray be the target of removal often, but I think Bing rightly realized that he was just way ahead, and he can just push for damage, you know? He's not really, at any point here, going to fall that far behind, given that Aurelia is just itself just a monster in the air, and then in combination with that also makes all of his other creatures better. I think he just wanted to get in for a bunch of damage.
I mean, he's also, by putting it up to a 2/2, he can make it a 3/3 next turn.
Command the Storm.
He had a he had a Command the Storm for
Command the Storm
spell.
that's 5 damage to a creature, and that is going to get the Wurm out of here. So that means that Bing is once again going to be able to attack. I believe Aurelia is targeting itself, and then mentoring onto a soldier.
Yep, with the old Vigilance.
So
he's gonna have to block somewhere.
Yeah, well, I guess this adds up to 7
take
total.
7, go to 1.
Take 7, go to 1. Bing gains some life from the lifelink soldiers.
Well over 30 now, and we need something pretty huge now.
I mean, we need a spot removal spell for Aurelia. If we can find that, I feel like, you know, we're in a step in the right direction. At the same time, though, like 33-1. Yes, we've all played those games where you come back and it's really exciting, and
it does not happen every game.
Yeah, realistically, 33-1, it's always going to be an uphill battle, for sure. Although losing those games when you have like 50 and they're at 1, and you somehow like they play like a Wrath and you lose, those are the worst games of Magic, I swear. This game is so brutal. Yeah, Bing's going to take the damage.
So.
Ooh. Deal 4. Okay, and concede.
No, he's
okay. Did not have enough, so Aurelia has a 2/5. That extra point of toughness, very important.
Very important. And the Boros took the day.
Yeah, it was, you know, the power of those kind of mythic, over-the-top power level cards that Bing had, like Aurelia and Rel, they made a huge difference when really, yes, Rocky's draws weren't the best, but I think a lot of what you saw, especially in the third game, was Bing just had really high power level at the top of his curve.
Really very strong. Like Aurelia was just huge at the end there. There was no answer. But it was the mid-game interaction with Planeswalker, I think, in the last game that pushed to the point where there was just not enough gas left in the Selesnya deck.
Yeah, Rocky had to make some attacks that were designed to destroy Rel, and that worked. I mean, he did take Rel off the table, but the problem was it ended up putting him slightly behind on board and on life totals, and when Aurelia came down, you know, she just did the rest.
That said, game 1 we saw, what's the mythic again?
Trostani.
We saw Trostani do the same thing on the other side of a table, so I'd say in the end, all's fair.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it was a good example of both players had mythics. There was some interesting interplay, but at the end of the day, it was the last mythic angel standing.
Last mythic standing
that took it home.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Mana Wars.